In a world of constant evolution, trucks are no exception when it comes to progress and modernization over the years. We currently talk about energetically sustainable solutions, with alternative fuels like hydrogen or electric power, and even modern mechanisms that improve load efficiency and other relevant issues for road transport. However, looking to the past, it is necessary to remember the starting point, the origin that allowed trucks and the entire transport industry to exist, so that it gradually became the backbone of all industries. In the mid-1800s, a whole revolution full of economic and social changes was brewing, hand in hand with new technologies that helped all of Europe and the world go from an agrarian economy based on fieldwork and the use of pack animals to an industrialized one with the mechanization of production lines and the emergence of new industries. These changes gave way to what we know as the Industrial Revolution. In its heyday around the 20th century, when the world was in a constant search to innovate and facilitate all kinds of heavy tasks, a group of incredible German engineers stepped forward, led by the visionary Gottlieb Daimler and his partner Wilhelm Maybach. Responsible for numerous innovations, such as the first motorcycle with an internal combustion engine, they became indelible figures in automotive history by presenting the Daimler Motor Lastwagen. The Motor Lastwagen, whose literal translation is motorized load carriage, was presented on August 18, 1896. Resting on iron wheels with wooden tires, it was built just over a decade after the invention of the internal combustion engine itself, and only 11 years after the invention of the first three-wheeled automobile in 1885. So it was not only a great innovative advance, but also a risky bet due to the type of work it was designed for. At that time, ships and trains were the only options for moving heavy loads, but their use was limited to specific areas where they could operate. The idea behind this vehicle was to create better conditions for transporting heavy cargo within cities. Even then, although it may not seem like it today, urban freight transport was still carried out using animal-drawn carts pulled by horses, oxen, or mules. That is why the design of this first motorized truck looked very similar to a cart, only without the drawbar where the animals would normally be attached. Instead, it used a revolutionary two-cylinder, four-stroke engine called Phoenix. With a displacement of just 1 liter, the engine produced only 4 horsepower. Although this may sound surprising when thinking about a cargo vehicle, especially since today even simple tools like water pumps can have that much power, back then it was considered a true milestone. A curious aspect is that the engine installed in the rear was supported by 2 coil springs because it was very sensitive to vibrations. Meanwhile, in the front, transverse leaf springs were installed to improve the vehicle's ability to travel on bad roads, given that at that time most roads and paths were not paved, while in urban areas very irregular cobblestones were used. To power the rear wheels, a rudimentary 4-speed belt transmission was used, something that was later changed to improve the mechanical qualities of these primitive trucks. Like animal-drawn carriages, the driver sat in the front, on a wooden bench, having control of the vehicle by means of a steering wheel connected to the front axle through a chain transmission. The Lastwagen reached dimensions of 4.5 meters long, 1.5 meters wide, and had a payload that was between 1.2 and 1.5 tons. Despite being a marvel of engineering in its time, local entrepreneurs in Germany remained skeptical, mainly because it was a novel technology for them. This is why, through their newly founded company Daimler Motoren Gesellschaft, they had to sell an improved version of their truck, with a more powerful engine installed in the front, to the British Motor Syndicate of London, thus becoming the world's first truck manufacturer. Fortunately for them, this event allowed the Lastwagen to finally begin to consolidate in the German market. Almost immediately, this vehicle became the preferred unit of several local businesses, especially breweries like Bohemian of Berlin. While this truck was not the best friend of speed, barely reaching 12 kilometers per hour when empty, its capacity to transport up to 12 barrels of 60 liters of beer made it the delivery vehicle par excellence for these companies. Thanks to these positive responses, Daimler was able to become the first vehicle manufacturer to launch a complete range of trucks with different power levels. Specifically, they produced 4 units with engines of 4, 6, 8, and up to 10 horsepower, which offered payloads from 1.2 to 5 tons. These changes were possible thanks to new advances that occurred in the automotive industry at that time, such as a low-voltage magneto-ignition developed by Bosch, as well as a new radiator designed by Wilhelm Maybach himself. The true boom for these trucks came about in 1914, when Daimler Motorengesellschaft began the mass production of its most powerful models commissioned by its main client, the German Army. By this point, the DMG trucks already had engines of up to 30 horsepower, as well as drum brakes and rubber tires. Their participation in these historical events went beyond just contributing vehicles, as they became the main suppliers of internal combustion engines for military purposes. Daimler, later in an alliance with the German company Benz, was in charge of improving and producing engines for both land vehicles and airplanes, even manufacturing models of gasoline engines for Zeppelins. However, the culmination of both wars also meant turbulent times for the recently converted Daimler-Benz. After the First World War, they were forced to diversify their production, even manufacturing bicycles and typewriters under the Mercedes brand. Fortunately for them, after the Second World War, they were in charge of manufacturing the trucks that rebuilt the affected Germany, giving way to the birth of mythical models like the Unimog. Unfortunately, the passage of time did not allow any of the original models manufactured in 1896 to survive to this day. Even one of the only existing replicas built in 1990 suffered so much damage over time that it was no longer suitable for driving. However, on the occasion of the 129th anniversary of the launch of this original model, Daimler Trucks decided to recover this historical replica to restore it with the help of Philipp Matthäus Hans Schule, a German vocational school that trains specialists in vehicle restoration. The intention is for this replica to undergo a comprehensive restoration in order to become fully operational again. The goal is for this replica to be able to run on its own by the end of August, to be sent back to the Daimler Trucks facilities, who wish to present it at the Spitzkraut Classics Historical Car Rally on September 19, 2025. The history of the Daimler Motor Lastwagen not only represents the beginning of the cargo transport industry, but it is also a reflection of how innovation can change the course of history, regardless of the era or circumstances. What began as a risky bet in a context where cities still depended on animal-drawn carts ended up opening a new path of opportunities, even though in its early years it was not fully understood or accepted. For his part, Gottlieb Daimler has more than written his name in automotive history, both for his vital participation in the invention of transport trucks, as well as for his help in the creation of the motorcycle, the four-wheeled automobile, and the development of internal combustion engines. His legacy endures not only for his historical recognition, but also in his own brand, which started out as the modest Daimler Motorengesellschaft until it became the now internationally known and respected Mercedes Benz,